Welcome back to the mostly mundane adventures of Jim. In this adventure called life, we've had lots of nice neighbors. And there are people, though, out there who are not very nice neighbors, like the man who poisoned my friend's beagles. I had a paper route, the Daily Herald Telephone. Every day after school, I had a bundle of papers in our front yard waiting for me to deliver in our neighborhood. I earned about $4 per week, which made me feel rich and independent. We Deckard kids didn't get allowances, but we did get a roof over our heads, food, clothing, and best of all, parents who loved us. I was only a fourth grader when I had my first paper route and had a lot to learn about money management and discipline. We paper boys were responsible for delivering papers in any kind of weather and collecting money each week from our customers and delivering the money to an office downtown. My biggest problem was that White's Grocery, a small mom and pop store, was just around the corner and down the street a little ways. I frittered away many of my hard-earned dollars on special snacks and drinks. I sometimes would walk a long way to the Dog and Suds to buy a Coney dog and frosty root beer. Then Mom would wonder why I didn't have much of an appetite at supper time. And Dad wondered why I had to borrow money from him to pay my weekly paper bills. And then there was the bully. I'll call him Boris, not his real name, just in case he's still around and should happen to read this story and come after me again. Well, one afternoon I was making my rounds collecting money from my customers. I was passing through the park of light green trailers on my home stretch when suddenly Boris came bursting through some bushes on his bike with a BB gun resting on his handlebars, shooting at me. He was 4 years my senior, but the snarl on his face made him look like a full-grown terrorist of the meanest variety. I didn't know that I could run so fast. The coins in my changer jingled up and down. My heart rate climbed quickly as I shifted into adrenaline drive. I don't know how long he followed me or how many times he shot at me. I never turned to look back. My eyes were fixed on the numbers 1210 over our door. Home never looked so good. I would have been glad to sit down and visit with the rats. I had escaped the jaws of death, death by BBs. From then on, I dreaded going out to deliver papers. My brother David told me that I should just punch Boris in the face. That was easy for him to say since he was the same age as the bully. David did punch him at another time when the bully spit on his coat. This is not an actual photograph of Boris, and Boris is not his actual name. Soon, the stress of not knowing when I might die at the hand of Boris or go to debtor's prison for unpaid paper bills got the best of me, and I quit my route. Part of the process of quitting was training in my replacement. He was supposed to walk with me on my route for 1 week, including the Friday that I collected money from my customers so I could introduce them to their new paper boy. So at the end of the day, Friday, papers delivered, introductions made, and my pocket and coin changer full of money, something unexpected happened. The new kid pulled a gun out of his pocket and told me it was real and said, "You need to pay me for this week or I'll shoot you." I don't know what came over me, but I told him no. I was way more afraid of Boris and his BB gun than this kid and his supposedly real gun. He said, "Oh, okay," and we parted company. I wonder whatever became of that boy. A big city crime boss, perhaps? Or maybe an evangelist winning souls for Jesus. As for me, I was just glad to be shed of that job and bullies. Fast forwarding from 1959 to 1975, now as a 25-year-old, my wife Jean and I were helping Aunt Carolyn deliver new phone books in Bloomington in that old Walnut Grove neighborhood. On our list was the home of Boris. I went up to his house, phone book in hand, and knocked. I was wondering if he was still there. The door swung open, and there he was, as mean-looking as ever. A shiver ran up my spine, and I mumbled, "Here's your new phone book." "Okay, thanks," he replied. No BB gun in hand this time. The brick pile. Wherever we lived in our journeys, we always had a pile of used lumber lying around. It might have been an eyesore to some, but to me it was a pile of endless imagination and fun. Fun, except for the time I stepped on a board and ran a 16-penny nail into my foot. Mom poured hydrogen peroxide on it, and Dad took me to the Bloomington Hospital for a tetanus shot. I preferred Mom's treatment, but all the pain in my foot and arm didn't keep me away from the wood pile. When we were in Florida, I built an ocean liner from wood pile scraps. I was disappointed when I wasn't allowed to take it with us the next time we went to the beach, but our inner tubes took up too much space in the car. In Florida and then Indiana, my woodpile experiences helped me learn to cut and fasten pieces of wood together. These skills helped me later in life and for the rest of my life. Yes, I know I haven't been writing about a brick pile at all, but I'll get there. Back to the ocean liner in Florida, it was useless. But now that I had a little more experience, I crafted something very useful, a coaster that I could sit on and ride down a hill, built with woodpile scraps and some old baby carriage wheels. Our street had a suitable hill and it worked well, but it lacked an engine for getting back up the hill. I had to settle for a cardboard box tacked onto the floorboard in front of me. I was only in the 4th grade and lacked the knowledge it would take for installing a real engine. Imagination would have to do. I needed to make my engine a little more believable, so I ran down the street to the nearest gas station and found a friendly mechanic who gave me 4 used spark plugs. Back at my shop, I punched 4 holes in the top of my engine block, the cardboard box, and installed the spark plugs. It looked great, and I felt as if I coasted just a little faster. Okay, now the brick pile. Dad had gotten a good deal on a truckload of used bricks and had dumped them around back near the woodpile. I couldn't see that they were of any use to anyone except for trying to drop them on rats when they poked their heads out from under the house. I didn't realize that they had an important function as character building and muscle toning. In fact, I believe it was after the arrival of the brick pile that my biceps began to come out of hiding. Up until then, whenever I was bored, I went to Mom and pestered her for something to do. She tried her best to keep me occupied, but she was a busy housewife and mother, and sometimes was at a loss for suggestions. She must have said something to Dad, because one day after coming home from his work, he took me out to the brick pile. There he showed me a special hammer that was hammer on one end and chisel on the other. Picking up a brick with mortar still hanging onto it, he used the chisel end to expertly knock the mortar off. "Now you try it," he said, and gave me a few more tips on cleaning and neatly stacking the bricks. "Now, whenever you don't have anything to do, don't bother your mother. Just come out here and chop bricks." I eventually got to be pretty good at that job and better at not being a pest with Mom. It was hard work, but my muscles and character were beginning to develop. My parents, Dad is the one on the right.